No one tells you this, but I will. The moment you start chasing a woman, the moment you begin prioritizing her over your purpose, your goals, your identity, you lose something much deeper than just her attention. You lose yourself. We've been fed the same lies for years. ... Double quotes. Show her how much you care. Text her more. Make grand gestures. Never let her forget how much you want her. But what happens? You overextend. You text first. You text again. You plan the dates. You chase. And somewhere along the line she pulls back. Not because you weren't good enough. Not because you didn't try hard enough. But because the more you give, the less she values it. Here's the brutal truth. Women don't want to be chased. They want a man who commands presence, who holds his ground, who doesn't flinch under emotional pressure, a man who doesn't beg for attention because he already has his own focus, his own fire, his own path. And the moment you flip that dynamic, the moment you stop chasing, stop pleading, stop proving, she feels it. She starts to wonder what changed, why you're no longer at her feet, why your energy, once predictable and consistent, is now out of reach. And that's when everything shifts. Because when you walk away with power, when you become emotionally grounded and detached from needing validation, you don't just get her attention back, you get your self-respect back. This video isn't about games, it's not about manipulating anyone, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to chase because he already knows his value. And today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that. We're going to break down step by step how to take control when she pulls away. Not through begging, not through texting her, but by becoming the most dangerous thing a man can ever be. Focused, unattached, and completely in control of his emotions. So if you're tired of being the one always giving more, always trying harder, always ending up confused when she becomes distant, this is your moment. Let's flip the script. Let's rebuild your mindset and let's take your power back, once and for all. Segment 1. Understanding why she pulled back. If you want to regain your emotional footing, the first thing you need to do is understand why she pulled away. Because the truth is, it didn't happen out of nowhere. People rarely disconnect for no reason. There's always a deeper cause, and more often than not, it's about something very human, a shift in power dynamics. At some point, possibly without even realizing it, you may have started leading with need instead of presence. You texted first, you texted again. You rearranged your life to accommodate hers. You made her the emotional center of your world. And slowly, subtly, something in her perception shifted. Not because you were unworthy, but because the dynamic lost its balance on relationships. We're all wired to value what we feel is mutually earned. When someone gives too much, too soon, too easily, without boundaries, without balance, it can start to feel less like love and more like pressure. And for many women, that pressure registers not as emotional safety, but as emotional dependence. You might notice it first as slower replies, less enthusiasm, more distance, and that's when panic kicks in. You try harder, you give more, but every time you overextend to bring her closer, you actually push her further away, not because of who you are, but because of the energy you're projecting. One of emotional insecurity. It's painful, yes, but it's also a wake-up call. Because when someone pulls back, they're often consciously or not asking a question. Can I trust this person to be strong on their own, or do they need me to feel okay? And if the answer becomes, he needs me too much, the respect begins to fade. And without respect, attraction can't survive. So if this is happening to you, don't see it as the end. See it as an opportunity to reset the dynamic, not through force, but through clarity. To stop grasping and start standing. To return to yourself. Because that's where the real power lies. And that's what we build next. Segment 2. Emotional detachment. Once you've recognized the why, the next step is reclaiming your emotional grounding, and that begins with mastering emotional detachment. Now, detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you stop tying your emotional well-being to someone else's response, behavior, or approval. Because the man who lets his mood rise and fall with her texts, her tone, her availability, is the man who loses himself, and ultimately, the connection. Here's the truth. You cannot control how someone else feels about you, but you can control how you respond. You can control how much space you give yourself. You can choose not to spiral, not to beg, not to chase. You can choose presence over panic. And in that choice and that space between reaction and restraint is where your power lives. Emotional detachment isn't cold, it's calm. It's confidence without noise. It's the deep knowing that no matter what happens, you will be okay. That your worth isn't tied to whether or not someone texts you back. That your peace isn't negotiable. And yes, when you create that space, she will notice. Not because you're playing games, but because your energy has shifted. You're no longer emotionally enmeshed. You've become quiet, centered, unreachable in the best way. And that silence invites curiosity. It invites reflection. It invites her to feel what life is like without your consistent, unwavering presence. But most importantly, it gives you room to breathe, to rebuild your clarity, to reconnect with a version of you that doesn't chase love but invites it from a place of wholeness, because when your emotions are no longer controlled by someone else's attention, you become unshakable. And that, more than anything, is what changes the game. You are no longer the man who breaks when she pulls away. You're not here to prove, to push, or to plead. You're here to build, in silence, with intention, from a place of quiet strength that no one, not even her, can take from you. And that is what comes next. Segment 3. Avoiding common mistakes. Now that you've begun to emotionally detach, you're already ahead of the curve. But here's where many men unintentionally sabotage their progress. They make subtle but critical mistakes during the quiet. It usually starts with doubt, with second guessing, with that anxious voice whispering, maybe I should just check in, just once. And that one small action, a text, a like, a quick comment, can unravel everything you've been building. Let's get clear. Silence is not a punishment, it's a boundary, it's strength. And if you break that boundary too soon, what you're really signaling is, I haven't changed. I'm still right here, waiting. What many don't realize is that during this phase, she's likely watching, not always consciously, but often, emotionally. Maybe she posts something vague or attention-grabbing. Maybe she shares a quote that feels aimed at you. Maybe she puts something out there just to see, will he bite? And a lot of men do. They reach out like a post, send a hope you're okay message, and unknowingly they confirm exactly what she was testing for. He hasn't actually pulled away. He's still emotionally dependent. And just like that, the balance resets, and not in your favor. You need to understand, this part isn't about winning her attention. It's about proving to yourself that you can hold your center no matter what storms come your way. So don't check her social media, don't respond to bait, don't ask mutual friends for updates, don't look for signs in what she posts, because the moment you react, you relinquish the progress you've made. And more importantly, you interrupt your own healing. She stepped back. Now it's her move. Your silence speaks volumes, your self-discipline holds the line, and your ability to stay grounded, even when tempted. That's what makes you different. It isn't about ignoring her to get her back. It's about honoring your growth. Enough not to chase someone who hasn't earned their way back into your life. Segment 4. The power of no contact. This is where things deepen, where growth becomes transformation. It's called no contact. And yes, it may sound simple. No texts, no calls, no checking in. No just wanted to say hi. But this isn't just silence, it's a complete energetic reset. You're not just stepping back from communication, you're stepping out of her orbit. You're removing yourself from the dynamic entirely, and in doing so, you're reclaiming every ounce of energy you once gave away. No contact isn't about punishment, it's not about proving a point. It's about healing, it's about rebuilding your identity without emotional reliance on someone else's presence. And that silence, that space, it's powerful because, in a world addicted to instant replies and constant connection, your absence becomes noticeable not just to her, but to you. Suddenly she's left with questions. Why hasn't he reached out? Did I misread his feelings? Is he really letting me go? And those questions, those moments of uncertainty, are where true reflection begins. Not for her only, but for you as well. Because here's what you're doing with that space. You're leveling up, you're investing in your health, your passion, your circle, your purpose. You're building a version of yourself so clear, so purposeful, that even you start to look at yourself differently. That's the point of no contact, not to get her attention, but to reconnect with your own. And yes, it takes strength. Most people can't do it. They cave, they spiral, they check profiles, they send that one last message. But the man who honors no contact with clarity, dignity, and focus, he becomes unforgettable, not because of manipulation, but because of maturity. When you go quiet, and she can't read your energy anymore, no likes, no comments, no texts, you become a blank space. And in that silence, she begins to feel the weight of your absence. But let me be clear. You're not waiting, you're not playing chess, you're not counting days. You're building a life she may or may not be invited back into. That's the shift. That's where your power returns. Segment 5. How to stay focused during the pullback. Let's be honest. The hardest part of all this isn't the silence itself. It's the space in between, the waiting, the uncertainty, the in-between phase, where you're not talking but you're still tempted, where nothing's happened yet, and your mind fills the gaps. That's where most men fall, not because they don't care, but because they haven't yet replaced that emotional energy. See, you can't just stop focusing on her, you have to start focusing on you. Because detachment isn't passive, it's powerful, it's active, and the way you fill that emotional vacuum determines whether you regress or evolve. So if you're still checking her profile, still watching her stories through burner accounts, still mentally replaying conversations or stalking for clues, you're not detached. You're just emotionally lingering in silence. Real detachment means anchoring into something deeper, a purpose, a routine, a mission, a vision of your life so compelling that she's no longer the sun your world spins around. This is your transformation window. This is when you reclaim the parts of yourself that got lost in the relationship. Start with your body, move it, train it, strengthen it. Then move to your mind, learn, create, build. Then your space, clean it, upgrade it, own it, and finally your standards, raise them. Because when she does return, and often she needs to return to a man she has to work to earn back, not the man she left behind. Let her find a man so focused, so full of purpose, that the question is no longer will she come back, but rather does she still fit into the life I've built. That's not arrogance, that's growth. So keep going, keep rising, keep building, because the man who turns silence into strength and distance into discipline becomes the kind of man who doesn't chase love, he attracts it. Segment 6. Use heartbreak as fuel. Stop pretending heartbreak hurts. It rattles you, it disrupts your sleep, your focus, your identity. It makes you question who you were and whether you were ever truly seen. But here's the quiet truth, no one teaches us. Heartbreak is fuel, if you know how to use it. Most men don't. They numb it with distractions, noise, meaningless connections. They scroll, they escape, they bury the pain instead of alchemizing it. But the ones who grow, they burn it. They don't hide from the ache. They harness it. They take every lonely night, every unanswered text, every flash of rejection, and they turn it into energy. Clean, pure, relentless. They don't chase revenge. They outgrow the pain. And that becomes the turning point, not because of what she did or didn't do, but because of what you chose to do with it. You want to reclaim your power. Then let this heartbreak show you what you're made of. Use it to get in shape, not to prove a point, but to show yourself what discipline feels like. Use it to launch that project you've been putting off. Use it to become the version of yourself that doesn't need closure, because you closed the gap within. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of love for the man you're becoming. Because the moment you stop waiting for her to come back and start building a life you're proud of, everything shifts. Suddenly, her opinion isn't the fuel for your self-worth, your own evolution is. So whenever the pain hits, move. Do the push-ups. Read the pages. Build the body. Build the business. Build the boundaries. And most importantly, build the version of you who no longer needs anyone else to see your value in order to believe in it. That's how heartbreak becomes purpose. That's how wounds become wisdom. That's how you rise, not to make her regret losing you, but because you finally remembered you were never lost to begin with. Segment 7. Building emotional strength is journey. It was never just about her, it's about you, about becoming the kind of man who can't be broken, not because you're closed off, but because you've done the work. Because true emotional strength isn't about shutting down, it's about showing up fully present, fully grounded, fully whole. It's about no longer needing someone to complete you because you've already chosen to complete yourself. When you're emotionally reactive, you become a mirror reflecting whatever she gives you. Her silence makes you spiral. Her messages make you hopeful. Her absence makes you ache. But when you're emotionally strong, you become an anchor. You stop being tossed around by someone else's emotions and start becoming a safe place for yourself first, and then for others. That's when women notice. Because emotional stability isn't just attractive, it's rare. And make no mistake, she will test it, not to hurt you, but to feel whether your strength is real. Will you beg when she pulls away? Will you break when she goes cold? Will you lose yourself the moment her validation disappears? Or will you stay still, calm, confident, whole? Because that's what emotional strength looks like. It's not controlling her, it's controlling yourself. It's no longer outsourcing your worth, it's knowing who you are, even when no one's clapping for it. It's being the kind of man who walks away not to punish but to protect his peace. So from this moment on, her silence, you can meet it with stillness. Her absence, you can meet it with presence. Her testing, you can meet it with boundaries, because the goal isn't to never feel hurt, it's to never be ruled by it. And once you've built that, once emotional control becomes your default, you don't chase anyone. You don't panic when someone leaves. You don't need the text, the closure, the comeback, because you've already come home to your mission, to your power, to yourself, and from that place, you attract love that honors your strength, not love that tests it. That's the man you're becoming. And once you become him, you never go back. Segment 8. Making her miss you. Let's make one thing clear. You don't make her miss you by reaching out. You don't make her miss you by chasing, posting quotes, or reminding her of your presence. You make her miss you by removing yourself completely. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, energetically. You disappear from her world in a way that's felt. Why? Because real presence has weight, and when that presence is suddenly gone, it leaves a space nothing else can fill. See attention. That's cheap. She gets that all day long. Likes, comments, flirty DMs from men hoping to be noticed, but your silence, your absence, that's what's rare, and what's rare is missed. You were once predictable, quick to respond, always watching her stories, always reacting to every breadcrumb she dropped. But now you're not watching, you're not reacting, you're not wondering what she's doing because you're too focused on what you're doing. And that change, that shift in energy, it's not fake, it's not a trick. It's the natural result of a man who's finally made himself the priority. That's when the questions start for her. Did he move on? Why hasn't he reached out? Who's capturing his attention now? And the more she wonders, the more she feels, and the more she feels, the more she misses what she once had easy access to. But here's the truth. You're not doing this to manipulate her emotions. You're doing this to reclaim your own. You've become a man with a full plate. You're not waiting by the phone. You're not scanning for signals. You're building a life, a body, a mindset, a mission, and that kind of absence, the kind built on true growth, not games, that's the kind that pulls someone back without a single word. Because the more at peace you are without her, the more powerful your silence becomes. So don't just disappear, evolve. Let her miss the man who used to chase and realize that man no longer exists. Segment 9. What to do when she reaches out. Here it is, the moment you've imagined. The ping, the message, the casual, "Hey, how have you been?" After weeks, maybe months of silence. And let's be honest, part of you still wants this, but here's the part most men don't see. This isn't the victory, this is the test, because how you respond now, it says everything about who you've become, or whether you're just pretending to be over her when she reaches out. Your first instinct may be to engage, to respond immediately, to read into every word, looking for signs that she wants you back. But don't confuse attention with intention. More often than not, her reaching out isn't about reconciliation, it's about reassurance. It's about checking whether she still has emotional access to you. She wants to know, is he still waiting? Does he still care? Can I still pull him back in? So your response needs to be calm, grounded, minimal. She says, "Hey, how have you been?" You respond, "Doing well. Hope you're good too." That's it. Short, polite, unavailable, because you're not rude, but you're not the same guy she once left behind either. You don't flood her with emotion. You don't revisit the past. You don't ask why now. You show through your energy that her message didn't shake your foundation. And if she wants to meet you, don't rush, don't jump. You don't cancel your plans. You say something like, "Maybe I've got a full schedule right now, I'll let you know." Not to play games, but because your time is valuable, and she needs to feel that she's stepping into a life that's no longer centered around her approval. And this part is crucial. You don't go backward. You don't compromise your new standards. Just because someone from your past reappears, you observe. Is she showing up consistently? Is she being intentional? Is she treating you with the respect you've now learned to demand? Because getting her back isn't the goal anymore. Becoming a man who never loses himself again, that is so. When she reaches out, you don't get emotional, you get clear. She's not here to complete you. She's here maybe to complement the man you've already become. And if she can't do that, you'll keep moving forward with peace, purpose, and zero regrets, because now you're the one who chooses. Segment 10. Reinstate boundaries and power dynamics. She's back, or at least she's testing the waters, but this time it's different, or it has to be. Because if she walks back into your life and nothing's changed, if she feels the same power, the same access, the same emotional leverage, then all you've done is reset the cycle. And that's not growth, that's relapse. So here's the new rule. Boundaries are non-negotiable this time. She enters your world, not the other way around. She meets your pace, she earns your energy, she respects your standards, because the old version of you, the one who tolerated emotional games, inconsistency, and disrespect, is gone. She left holding the power, your attention, your emotion, your time, but now you hold all of that, and you're choosing where to invest it. So when she texts, "I miss you," you don't melt. You assess when she says, "Let's meet." You don't drop everything. You decide based on your schedule, your focus, your standards. This isn't bitterness. This is emotional maturity. Boundaries don't mean closing your heart. They mean protecting it from anything that disrespects it. And if she tests those boundaries again, if she pulls away, plays games, or brings confusion, you don't react. You walk. No drama, no speech, no emotion, just clarity and consistency, because now she needs to prove herself, not through words but through effort, not by saying "I've changed," but by showing it. She's no longer the one being chased. You're the one being chosen, and only by those who are qualified. And if she can't rise to the new standard, let her go, because you didn't fight through silence, heartbreak, detachment and growth just to hand back your power like nothing happened. You fought to never lose yourself again. Final thought. From rejection to rebirth, you came here looking for a strategy, a step-by-step way to win her back. But what you really needed was a reason to win yourself back. This was never about games, it was about clarity. It was never about revenge, it was about rebirth. You're not proving your worth to her anymore. You're proving it to you. And maybe she'll come back, maybe she won't. But the truth is, you don't need her to, because now you've become something most men never do. Complete whole. Unshakable. Whole. Turn silence into structure, pain into power, loss into leadership. That's the win. Not her text, not her apology. But the fact that you rose after rejection and never looked back. So from this point forward, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't break, you build. You build the body, you build the mindset, you build a life that reflects your worth with or without her. And if she wants a place in it again, she doesn't get it for free. She earns it because you earned you. The man you've become doesn't settle, doesn't wait, and doesn't ever lose himself just to be loved. He stands tall, he walks forward, and he lets the world catch up. Now go become that man.